When you look back in hindsight, everything is 2020. In hindsight, we make mistakes, we're learning from it. In hindsight, be yesterday and your tomorrow. In hindsight, it's so much clearer now.
Welcome to Hindsight, the podcast. I'm Lee Jones, your host. And look, what does it take to turn your story into a book that resonates with readers and grows your business? I have here with me today Danielle Hutchinson, a former English teacher who's traveled the globe twice. I love it. And now serves as a core member of Authors on Mission, a company ranked 286 on Inc.'s 5,000 fastest growing companies in 2024. So, did you end up 286 for 2024?
I believe so. Yes, you caught me off guard with that one.
No, and here it is. I try to put a preemptive strike in there because usually I'll say 286 and then they'll come back and they'll be like, no, actually we ended at 240 or something like that. So
no, I think those numbers are on par. Yeah. to verify, I do work with Authors on Mission. I do a lot of our creative content. So, the ghostwriting, the editing. As far as our rankings, we're doing amazing. We have a lot of great clients coming all the time. Could not tell you right off the top of my hand what number we did end up on, but it is going strong and it's thriving. So
I love it. And with a unique approach to book writing, Danielle helps entrepreneurs craft their authentic stories in just 90 days, all while growing their business and landing paid speaking gigs. So look, join us as we explore the do's and don'ts of the entrepreneurial journey to authorship. Good afternoon, Danielle. It is such a pleasure to have you on Hindsight, the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a wonderful rainy day here in New Jersey. Excited to dive into your podcast, talk about books.
Wow, we had a little bit of rain. I'm in California, so I'm on the other side, the other coast. And we had a little bit of rain today, and it was a pleasant surprise. I didn't know it was going to rain here. So, it rains there for you all the time. Here, once every 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 months. Does it rain in California?
Must be one of those unique days, right?
Oh, man, it feels good, though. It always feels good when it rains here. But this is Hindsight, the podcast. Before we get into teaching or sharing or, giving any kind of strategies, techniques, plans for the entrepreneurs to write better in 90 days, I want to talk a little bit about you.
Okay,
right?
will do.
So tell us just a little bit about you. I know you're an English teacher. What made you transition, all of those different things? If you could think of a key moment or something that said, hey, I want to help people to write. Besides being a school teacher, right? Obviously, that was your core thing.
Yeah.
But now you're doing it professionally. So what was that for you?
So yeah, I was teaching for a while. I love what I do. I get to help people, develop their own creative skills from a very young age until they're grown and, graduating, all that. But, I realized it's very minimal what I can do in the education system. I decided, why not expand? Why not see how I could broaden my reach? So I started freelancing on Upwork, actually, and it really just blew up. Within 2 years, I was getting all kinds of contracts, things I would have never have imagined. I started off doing kind of the fun, easy stuff like romance books, but then started doing more hardcore things like business, entrepreneurship, self-help books. And, ever since then, it's really thrived and found myself with Authors on Mission. And I love what I do every day because I get to meet new people, bring their stories to life, and it's just a blast. So
I love it. I love it. Did you always love English? I mean, I would think you did, but I want to ask that question.
Well, I'm definitely not a math person. I'll tell you that. I mean,
Me neither.
Whenever someone comes to me with a math problem, even like tips at a restaurant, I have to whip out my calculator, even ChatGPT these days. Like, what tip do I leave my waiter? I don't even know.
ChatGPT, ChatGPT is awesome. I used to go, and that's a good point. I used to go to YouTube and figure out how the hell do you do this math problem. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I get what you mean. If we want to chat about AI real quick, I use it for a bunch of stuff, especially, practical things like that. If you don't know the answer to something, for example, you were telling me, hey, find some headphones for this podcast. I was like, how do I set up my headphones to work on this computer? So it works all the time for different things. But a little bit of sidetrack, though, to answer your question, I have always loved English and writing. And, I think I just was one of those kids who would rather read a book than play a video game growing up. And I was used to just get comfortable, find my, latest read from the library. And I just had a passion for it. And I'm sure a lot of listeners today who are in the same authorship minds that feel the same ways too. So
Yeah. I tell you what, when I was young, probably in elementary school, if I can recall, maybe even before that, I used to love like story time.
yeah.
So, and here's why I say that because now I don't really like to read books too much, but I love to read books. So what I use is audiobooks so that I can
Mm.
get that feel. You know what I mean? And I have like you, I used to write when I was younger. Obviously, you went well beyond my what I inspired to be. But I used to wrote in college a little bit as well. But I never really was able to. And here's something for me to you, right? You can tell me what you think. I love the idea of writing the book. When I start writing it, all of the ideas get jumbled up to nothingness. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to write everything. I'm thinking all this stuff, but when it comes time to write, then it's just gone. And
Yeah.
it's hard for me to continue on. So we can explore that later because I'm going to ask you a specific question. Now,
Okay.
all the entrepreneurs, all the writers, this is when you start to key in. All right. Danielle, what are some of the biggest challenges you see entrepreneurs face when they decide to write a book? And how do you guide them through those obstacles? I just gave you one. I gave you my example.
Yeah,
So
I was going to
you
say you're
do.
definitely not alone in that boat. A lot of my clients come to me with the same thing. They have so many ideas and they don't know how to narrow it down. Everybody wants to write about all of their experiences at once. And they end up with
Mm,
so many different topics, just going from, you know, how to start your business, how to manage your employees, how to transform it, how to scale it. And it's just like, okay, like focus on one specific topic. That's how, for the
mm,
most part, you're going to really draw in an audience because, well, really, you have to find what the problem is that you want to solve for your audience, right? What exactly do they need at that moment? What's their pain point? So that's when you would really hone in on one particular set of skills or tips and narrow it down. So I think
mm.
that's what you probably would benefit from a little bit, Lee, is figuring out what exactly do I want to answer in my book. I think that's definitely one of the big problems.
Yeah.
Um, um,
Yeah. And okay, what I was no, you said what I was gonna say was one key thing that you just slid it in there really quickly, right? And I just want to make sure that we reiterate it, and you probably will reiterate it later on in the conversation, is especially when you're owning a business and you're writing a book about I guess to bring business to your business, right? Or to, get some what is it? What would you call it? To show that you're the subject matter expert in a certain thing, right? You want to make sure that you do what? Solve a problem for whoever it is that book is for, right?
yeah.
And that was one of the things I would like think of things that I want to just talk about. But it's not necessarily solving a problem. So if you're doing a nonfiction, like it's not a fiction book where you just go in and create a new environment, a new space, station or whatever the case may be. You're actually trying to solve your clients or your potential clients' problems. So can you expound on that just a little bit?
Yeah, and I mean, granted, it might not always be a problem. Maybe you're just trying to offer some general insights. Maybe you're trying to tell just your story, your legacy.
Okay.
So it really
Okay.
does just depend on what your goals might be. For
Okay.
example, if you're trying to establish that credibility, like you were mentioning before, right, trying to establish yourself as an expert in your field, you might not necessarily need to solve a problem, but more so perhaps, share your experiences with success. How you overcame different obstacles or what your methodology might be in general. And I mean, really, when it comes to that, your main thing would be focusing on not being too jargon heavy, making it more accessible to
Mm,
your audience. I have that as that's a huge problem that a lot of clients come to me with. They have these books that are full of just technical jargon in their field, and I help them kind of dumb it down a little bit enough to be accessible to a general audience as well, so that anybody just
yeah.
coming in can pick up where they need to be and understand your content, regardless of what their understanding might be of
Yeah, yeah. What if you're busy? People are busy.
it.
They're busy running a business. What are the top strategies for completing a book? And you boldly say complete it in 90 days without feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you need somebody on your team if you're going to try to
Hmm.
get it done in such a tight, time frame. When you're working with angel writers like us at Authors on Mission, we help to make sure you're staying on track. We fill in the blanks where you're not able to. We give you that little extra push and make sure that we're getting the content in and revised and perfecting it so that you get it done within that specific deadline. It's about time
Hmm.
management, but also just having somebody there with you to check in on you, guide you through the process, answer your questions, and just take the burden off your shoulders. Because at the end of the day, when you're busy and you're working all the time, you might not, have the energy to sit down and write. So it helps to have
Yeah.
somebody else there to fill in those gaps, to pick up those empty spaces.
I think that is very important. I think it's very important because a lot of times I know when I was started writing my first book, which is still, I mean, it's still got the little thing going across saying don't, so it's not there yet. But when I first started writing it, you spend so much time trying to figure things out. Now, researching is one thing, but figuring out how to write a book is a whole nother thing, right? And so having a team like, was it Authors on Mission, something like that to kind of keep you on track, keep you on, make sure you're meeting those goals in that timeline. I think that's very important. Can you tell me what else Authors on Mission does and what a potential client could expect from your services?
Yeah, well, really, we meet you in the middle, where
Hmm.
regardless of what it might be, that whatever it is then that you might need. So maybe if you're starting from scratch, you have an idea for your book. We help you develop it, make that outline, continue on writing step by step. I've had clients who come to me and we sit on video calls on a weekly basis for an hour and
Mm.
really just go line by line together. Other people already have paragraphs written, chapters written, or even have the entire manuscript written. So then it's a matter of editing, polishing it, making sure that it's exactly what you need in order to get it on the shelves.
Yeah.
Then we have other people who have the book completely done, already on the shelves, need help marketing it. One thing that a lot of
Oh,
business
wow.
owners or writers, yeah, I mean, people don't understand that once you have your book out there, that's not the end of the game. You might
Hmm.
have it on the shelf, but then it's going to stay on the shelf unread unless you breathe life into it every now and then. So you need that marketing. You need to get on the podcast. You need to, get onto some TED Talks or just market on social media. Do whatever it is to draw some more attention to your book and really, bring it to life. So Office on Mission really
Yeah.
does touch upon all those different aspects of it, regardless of where you might be on this on that trajectory.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Hey, what do you do in your spare time?
Well, what I
That's a
That's
curveball. Go ahead.
that's a curveball because, honestly, I work a lot, and that's something I love to
Hmm.
do. I take on as many clients as I can. I fill my schedule, so I'm either reading, I'm either writing. But in my free time, honestly, I love to travel, and that's something that I'm really able to do with this new freelancing is kind of put the laptop in a backpack, hop on an airplane,
Mm.
and get out there. We were just away last week in Amsterdam and Santorini, and it was amazing because I can do my work. I get my best writing done when I'm in these new places, and
Yeah.
I love to explore. I love to check out new things. So I guess I can call that a hobby. I'm a lucky hobby.
Oh, that is a
But
beautiful hobby. Good gracious. So you went around the globe 2 times. Not once, but twice.
I
What
mean,
was your favorite
honestly,
destination?
my favorite destination. I mean, honestly, I love South Korea out of all places.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever been to there
I have
before,
not.
have you? No.
I have
Well,
not.
there's this place Busan. It's a beach town, but it's in the city. So you're sitting around the beach, you're surrounded by skyscrapers. It's absolutely beautiful, and everyone is just so nice. And let me tell you, I mean, there's nothing like writing a book and just having different languages coming from all around you, and you're
Mm.
you're hearing like the seagulls and the ocean waves, and it's perfect. So it's a great
Oh,
way to be inspired. And to anybody listening, you don't necessarily need to go across the globe to get that new change of scenery if you're writing. I've had people, go to a park, go to a coffee shop. You get the same experience, but that really does help, jog those creative juices. So
man, I love that. Oh, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. I love traveling.
yeah,
I
what are
love
some of
seeing
your
different
favorite
places.
places?
Well, I actually I tell you what, I love a lot of California, and I'm from Maryland. I live in California now. But if I had to say one of my favorite places is probably Japan, and it's a
Mm,
town called Kyoto. So it's like the old what's the new Japan? What's the new city in Japan? Uh,
um,
the major one. I can't even
there's a
think.
ton
See
of
that?
them. Tokyo. I
No, it's a
mean,
major city in Japan, and I don't know why it's escaped my mind right now. But Kyoto is one of the older cities that used to be that thriving, metropolis or whatever. Now it's still nice, but when I went a while ago,
mm,
and I was just looking at the advancements in like just technical stuff. You know what I'm saying? It was
yeah,
like it was
definitely.
really, really an eye opener. It's so different, and the vehicles is shaped different. But what I really love about traveling, Danielle, is that no matter where you go, the people are the people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not really different. They speak a different language, they dress, differently, they look differently, but the people are the people. And I had an opportunity because I was in the military, and I went to Japan another time to train with Japanese soldiers. And they didn't speak English, we didn't speak Japanese. But at the end, we had this party to kind of sum up or wrap up all of the training, all of the stuff that we did, and it was just guys, because it was an infantry thing. So it was just guys. They're having a good time. We're having a good time. We had a few interpreters here and there. We started exchanging gifts and stuff like that, drinking. So we had a really good time. And that's what I've learned about traveling, because so many times, and I know I'm supposed to be interviewing you, so many
It's a
times.
conversation. We're getting to know each other, and
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. So
Yeah, so many times we just really see people as being different. There's always a lot of labels and things on people, but we're more the same. And you don't really grasp that. I didn't really grasp that until you're able to travel outside of your comfort, outside of what you know, and see these other things, and it kind of broadens your view, at least my view of
yeah,
what
no, I
reality
completely
is.
agree. And I mean, there are differences in that you can see, like, for example, when you're in
Mhm.
Japan, people actually line up to get on the subway instead of pushing through the doors. There's just one difference. I don't know if you noticed that yourself. I was like, wow, this is really nice.
Yeah,
um,
it's very organized. Yeah.
yeah. But you know, I see what you mean. Everybody is a human at the end of the day. And,
Yeah.
when you're especially in the writing and reading world, when I work with people all over the globe, so it's interesting to see that at the end of the day, everybody just wants their story told. Everybody wants to make sure that they're being heard, that their legacy is going to be carried on after, they've already gone from this world. And just like you were saying, regardless of where you live, it's at the end of the day, we're humans, so I agree with you
Yeah.
completely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great hobby, by the way. I like to do I couldn't go and do writing because when I go someplace, I love the visual. So my spare time thing, I like to do photography.
Oh, I
So when
love
I get out
that.
there, I'm snapping shots. Oh, I would never get anything written.
See, that's a
So,
talent that I can't do. I try to take a photo and I just got all these, like, blurry shots. That's
oh
great
man,
though.
some of the times, even the blurry ones are amazing shots, right? If you capture the moment. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's the thing. So, all right. So you like to travel. I like to travel a little bit and take photography. I've been around the world, 1/16th, maybe 1/5, 15th of the time. But have you ever gone to Japan? I mean, like China or something like that? Have
So
you ever
f
gone to any place? Go
I
ahead.
have been to Japan. We were there last summer. We were
So
gonna go to
Japan, yeah.
China. Yeah, we were gonna go to China, but turns out you need a visa. So we
Mm,
had our, flight booked, our hotel booked. We were in Dubai at 4 a.m. about to leave to go to China, and they were like, "Visa, please." And so we were like, "Well, I mean, we don't have that." So we ended up in Dubai for a few extra days, which is perfectly fine, but that's on the to-do list. So no China yet.
Dubai. I want to go to Dubai too. So anyway, I bring all these questions up
Mhm.
because we all have our authentic voice, we all have our experiences, we all have the things that make us who we are or who we believe we are. So how do you capture an entrepreneur's authentic voice in their writing, or how do you help them capture their authentic voice?
Yeah, I love that you asked that because you kind of tied that in perfectly, especially with what I was just
Yeah.
saying. What we both just said about how everyone's a human at the end of the day. Everybody does have their voice, regardless of where you live, what your experiences are, where you come from. So, honestly, it really boils down to getting to know your clients, hopping on a Zoom call with them, just like you and I are talking right now, face to face. Sometimes you can't get on a Zoom call. Sometimes you're on the phone. Sometimes you do have to, just snail mail each other through the, interwebs, but it's a matter of
Yeah.
getting to know them and their styles. A lot of the times, we have a back and forth conversation, and then I record them, using a program called Fathom. I get the transcription, and then I get to read and look back at the conversation, see what exactly they say. Like, how do they phrase their sentences? What are their favorite words to use? Where does their voice get most passionate as they're talking? And there's the kinds of things that I look for because that helps me as their ghostwriter to pick up on what matters to them and how they would also speak. So that's what helps
Mm,
me. And if I don't get on a video call with them, then I'm able to look at maybe their past writings or other notes. So it's a matter of studying. And that's why when you're
mm.
working with a angel writer who's very dedicated, they take the time to do that. Otherwise, it's just going to sound like a robot. So
Yeah. 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 What? Okay. All right. Don't get mad at me
Yeah,
because I'm about to put you on the spot.
please
You
do.
ready?
Yeah.
What makes your approach so unique compared to traditional book writing methods?
So, as opposed to somebody sitting down and writing a book by themselves, or are there
Yeah,
ghostwriters?
just sitting down writing or going with Harl. I can't even think of none. I don't know why everything's escaping me. I can't even think of one book editing thing. So anyway, just what makes your approach than me just sitting down writing it like I did here and getting this, whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
What makes that approach a little bit differently?
Well, on the surface layer, like we mentioned before, it's a matter of making sure you actually get it done, right? That layer of somebody giving you the extra push and helping you out there. Another layer is some people just either don't have the time or they don't believe they're a good writer, which I'll always advocate that everybody has a little bit of a writer in them. So aside from that, though, if you just you don't want to write it, you don't have the time, you just want a book out there with your name on it. I'm able to take your voice and get it onto that page. I mean, you said yourself you prefer
Mm,
audiobooks, for example. Some people just prefer talking. So I get a lot of
yeah,
clients who will just voice transcribe whatever it is they want in their chapter, that paragraph, and then I take that and I put it into the words for them. So I
yeah,
guess that's the benefit of it. You're able to get your ideas out there, but it's going to be higher quality. It's going to be organized. You're not going to have all this crazy repetition. And I think maybe what you were trying to get at before is perhaps using AI to write your books, which, you know, a great tool for research, but it's never going to capture your voice the same way that, working with a human is going to do. So that's another layer on also.
Have you ever written any books
I've written
for yourself? For
I
yourself? For
know.
yourself?
I've written like 200 plus books for different clients or edited for them, but I've never written one on my own for myself. So that is on the
Yeah,
to-do list. It is.
I
One of these
like
days
that.
I'll either write about, my experiences with ghostwriting, maybe some tips for others, or maybe I'll just have some fun and write a good old romance book and throw it on the shelves because we all love to do that. So
Well, you got a lot of backgrounds, I guess, just traveling the world. So you can probably pull from some of those experiences and create a story around that environment. That'd be pretty cool. I see that a lot now. All of these stories, especially that have been turned to movies in these nice exotic places. White Lotus is just an example
oh yeah.
of a great story, right, in a great exotic location. So, all right, now we're going to get back to the entrepreneurs. All right, here you go. Everybody's asking me to ask this question. Okay, I'm just asking. What are the common mistakes that entrepreneurs make when trying to turn their story into a book? And how can we avoid that?
Yeah, I mean, as we talked about a little bit earlier on, a lot of mistakes is, an entrepreneur believes that they're talking to somebody who's on their level, on
I
their
like
playing
that.
field. They're talking with a lot of jargon, they're speaking as if everybody can understand them. Sometimes you need to simplify the language. You need to make it relatable too. You
Mhm.
sometimes you just talk about your successes, your successes, your successes, everything you've done great in your life. But then the reader's going to look at it and think, that doesn't relate to me. Here I am failing and struggling. You sometimes need to be a little bit more authentic and talk about those more challenges you face in order to relate to your reader and really connect with them. And those are
Yeah.
just some examples off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, it's a matter of really having a good balance between all of that, making it accessible, targeting it to your readers, and really drawing them in through those stories that they can relate to. So.
Yeah. So, from a perspective of someone who's helped over 1,000 entrepreneurs, 1,100, what's the most rewarding aspect of seeing someone go from an idea to a published book?
I mean, honestly, it's, that very end point when you're seeing somebody actually get their voices out. I've worked with so many people who have had these incredible stories to tell from people who have been estranged from their children, people who have dealt with whistleblowing whole shenanigans,
Mm,
people who have dealt with overcame cancer, for example, and really tough things like that. And it's just being able to get their words into a book and sharing with others and knowing that others can benefit from it too. And that's really at the end of the day what's the most rewarding thing because there's nothing like
mm,
being able to help someone get their voice out there. So it's
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I tell you what. All right, this one this question here is special to me because it pertains to me. But for veterans who are transitioning into the civilian workforce, and
Okay.
they're also looking to write a book, what would you say is the first step that they should take to begin their writing journey? Never written a book before. They feel they got a story to tell. What's the first step?
So for that particular scenario, that's a tough one because you of course have to deal with memories that might not be the most pleasant things to recall. And I think
Mhm.
for step one is to be comfortable sharing that story with yourself, maybe finding a peace of mind. And when you're working with a ghostwriter, it's funny. Some of my clients have called me their therapist because they're able to kind of get their stories out there. Really, one of the clients I mentioned earlier, he'll cross his arms, lean back in his chair, and he just like talks about his experience with this whole complicated situation that happened in his life, and that does help you kind of come to terms with it. But I say that would have to be step one
Mm,
is being ready to share your story. It's not always easy. Um,
yeah,
but if you're trying to do it independently, for example, then of course you have to start by just jotting those ideas down, getting through those tough stories, and then kind of filtering it through and seeing which of those stories do I want to make sure get heard the most? Which ones have the most impact? What's my overall message going to be to the reader that and which of these stories are going to help amplify that message most? So kind of getting all those
yeah.
stories out there and then putting it in order in a way that makes sense. So
Got you. Got you. All right, here's another off the curveball. You ready?
yeah, let's do it.
What are you doing right now that your future self, your future you, will thank you for?
I mean, sitting here on this podcast with you is one.
I like
It's
that.
I think all these sleepless nights. I mean, you asked me for what do I like doing as a hobby? Traveling, of course, is my fun answer, but that's something I really do like 3, 4 times a year, on a daily
Mhm.
basis. What I do for myself really is I sit on my computer, I get a comfortable blanket, I get to write books for other people, drinking my coffee, and I think the lack of sleep now is what's going to pay off in the future. And I think that's something that everybody can learn from because, you do have to have a good work life balance, but there's also a
Yeah,
measure of pushing yourself and seeing what you can accomplish if you just go in one more hour and get something else done. And, how much are you going to learn from that extra hour of work? Where are you going to get yourself? And in the past like 2, 3 years I've been doing this, I've grown tremendously. So that's
I like
one
it.
thing. Yeah. I mean, I feel like maybe you feel the same way. I mean, probably you're
Yeah,
podcasting and working super late and, it's all about
yeah,
those hours sometimes.
I do. I do. I do feel the same way. For me, how I feel, or what am I doing? I started trying to get back into working out a little bit. You know what I
Uh,
mean?
mhm,
Only because I mean I'm getting older, right? In the military, they kind of teach you, you're at the beginning, the fine tuning or whatever these aren't the words. I'm layman's term, and then the maintenance phase. And where you want to be at is the maintenance phase, especially at my age, which isn't that old, but it is older than what I was when I was in the army. So, meaning as you get older, you're going to, things are going to happen. So all of that pounding that I did in the military and just throughout life, I got to pay the piper at some point. So you want to make sure that you have your body in a certain conditioning that you can, handle that instead of starting from when you should have started 20 years ago. Or you can use the same example for savings or doing some sort of investments, things like that. If the earlier you start and you get into it, right, when you look back, you'll be like, man, I'm so glad I started doing push-ups. Man, I'm so glad I
mhm,
started the savings account. I'm so glad stayed up and wrote these books. Right? It all makes a difference because many times I believe, and I'm not going to put this on anybody. We think about a lot of things we want to do, and we don't do it. We just sit there and think, oh, well, I'll do some push-ups tomorrow. Oh, I'll write this story tomorrow. Oh, maybe I'll start saving next week. And then next week is next year and 5 years and 10 years, and we never do these things. Go ahead. You okay? She getting choked up. I got her choked up. No.
Yeah, I'm sorry for that. Sometimes you're on a podcast and you can't stop yourself.
Oh, no,
Sorry,
you're good.
just one moment.
Yes, ma'am. Oh,
Sorry for that delay. But yeah,
uh,
no, to bounce off what you were saying, you definitely do need to have those workouts in there. I would love to push myself to do a little bit more cardio every now and then, but it's a little bit
Yeah.
hard to fit it into the schedule sometimes. But I do agree
Yeah.
with you. Every small step leads to something else.
I like it. All right. If you had to give one piece of advice to someone who's considering writing a book to expand their business, and you've given quite a few, but what would that one piece of advice be?
I would say you have to just get started. I mean, that's kind of the basic
Mm,
thing. You have to say, you can sit down there, start writing, but you have to make sure that you're also targeting it to your end goals, right? Maybe you
yeah.
want to expand your brand. That's something you have to start planning from the get go. That's where, your outlining comes in, making sure that every chapter has that goal in mind where it's going to lead you to that, where you want to expand your brand.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to get more speaking engagements, for example. That's another thing, planning out each chapter so that you can use that particular topic in the chapter for a speaking topic later on.
Mm,
Even for social media, if you want to expand that presence, same thing, making sure that your content can be repurposed for whatever that end goal might be at the end of the day. So
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
something that always, the planning is a huge thing.
Man, I plan after the fact.
Yeah, I mean, hey, people have two ways of going about it. Maybe you just get out there and you
Uh,
start writing, and then you figure out what am I going to do with this after the fact. But I'm definitely one of those other people who make sure I have a whole outline ready to go first. And whenever I work
no.
with my clients, it's the first thing I do is that outline. So
I need to be that Danielle person. I need to summon that Danielle side of me, right? To get that plan in the beginning part. I think that's very important as well. So, what would you say to someone who is looking at doing what you do? Someone's
so
looking at in a career in editing, or you do a lot of things. I don't even know how to summarize what it is that you do.
yeah,
But
I wouldn't even know
what would you
either.
advise? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're trying to get in. If you're trying to get into ghostwriting or editing, that sort of thing, you have to start small. I've tried to guide a lot of different people who want to follow in my shoes, but they look at the beginning projects and they're like, I have to do this for only like $20, $30. Where do you get the,
Yeah.
$2,000 contracts, Danielle? And I'm like, it comes with time. You have to build up your reputation. You have to get that experience. You have to get the practice and get the hours in. And,
Yeah.
it's a matter of choosing to work on your project rather than sitting down and watching Bridgerton instead at the end of the day, right? You have to keep working at it. Kind of going back to what I said before, like those couple hours where you're not sleeping each night and you're working a little bit harder. That's
Hmm.
what you have to do and to build yourself up. So, yeah, I mean, to do this, go ahead, start a profile on one of those freelancing companies, reach out to clients, build a rapport with them, get some good reviews. And then before you know it, I mean, you might be helping out people at Authors on Mission or other publishing companies or traveling the world and talking to really cool people in California like you, Lee. I mean, so
Thank you. I'm
small
blushing.
steps.
Yeah. And I tell you what, that's a good lesson in itself. A lot of times we come through and we see someone amazing like Danielle who's doing what she's doing. And you're like, I want to be like Danielle. But the thing is, you want to be like Danielle now, right? And you're not looking at the journey that
Yeah.
you took to get to where you're at now. So just keep that in mind. Don't judge people or judge yourself or compare yourself to someone else who's already established in doing their thing. So if
Yeah.
you want to get started in doing a new thing, listen to what Daniel says, maybe get a mentor, someone who can get you the proper ways to, get to that level. But don't compare yourself to where they're at. It's like me saying, hey, I'm going to play basketball. I think I should be dunking like Jordan was back in the day. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, yeah, and there's always good days and bad days too. I mean, your example of basketball, right? Some days you're just gonna, hit it right
Yeah.
away, and some days you're just gonna have a terrible day, and the ball keeps flying off the court, right? For
Hmm.
me, I definitely had those days where I would look at my list of how many projects I had to do, and I would literally like fry to my boyfriend, like, how am I gonna get this all done? And then, it's a matter of just those small steps, like one project at a time. Get another cup of coffee. You
Hmm.
got this, and here I am now. My schedule is balanced. I'm happier than ever, and you gotta get through those tough times sometimes, and that's how you
Yeah.
learn how to manage it and to get better at it, and that's what you gotta do.
What was the hardest part for you transitioning from being a teacher to what you're doing now?
Well, one is that time, like I said, not to be repetitive, but, as a teacher, your day ends at 3 o'clock and then you get to, relax, right? And now for
Yeah.
me, it's nonstop. It's all the time because I work with people all different time zones. I've had podcasts at like midnight, for example, and that's perfectly fine. And I love it. But realistically, the difference is talking to adults versus talking to children.
Mm,
That's a whole nother ballpark because, especially in negotiating with clients or speaking real to them, especially with editing, you can't really be nice to them the way that I have to be nice to my students. I have to say, like, look, man, your manuscript needs a lot of work done. This is how we're going to get it done. But you have to be blunt and honest. So it's a matter
yeah,
of changing your phrasing too and speaking to them like the clients they are. And
yeah,
finding out the best way to approach them too. Some people you can talk to them one on one. Other people you have to talk to them more professionally, and building that rapport, I guess, is what I'm getting at. So
yeah, yeah. So I tell you what, Danielle, you made this whole journey seem
yeah,
flawless.
it
Did you have any
wasn't.
obstacles? Did you have any
um,
obstacles? Can you just share one and how you overcame that?
yeah, I mean, honestly, when you're working with people, my job directly involves working with new people every day. You're going to butt heads
Mhm,
with people. So I've had
mhm,
a lot of just crazy client stories sometimes, and most of my clients are amazing and we get along great. But, we have some
yeah,
people who, they'll send the work back 4 times for a revision. I'm just like, I have a limit now, one revision per milestone, right? We can't
yeah,
keep
yeah,
going
yeah.
back and forth. Um, just lots of crazy people. Sometimes they come to you and they're like, I want a whole book written by next week. And I'm
Mm,
like, okay, no, hey, I can make that happen. I can for the right price.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I guess that's the biggest challenge is like learning to deal with people, learning to resolve issues that might come up. And it doesn't happen often, but when it does, I always have to like kind of take a deep breath, like, okay, like this person, it's their book, it's their baby. They want it to be perfect. So, at the end of the day,
Yeah,
they're the client. They're always right.
yeah. Yeah, that's what I wanted to get at. I wanted to get at how you it's not self-therapy. What's your therapy like? Like,
Oh,
do you
my
ever have
therapy.
to yeah, do you ever have to just take a step back because you're doing a whole lot of different books, and it looks like it's probably gonna pull you in a lot of different directions, right? Do you does that add a lot of pressure to your day? You talk about your boyfriend so fondly. Does it add a lot of pressure to that? And what do you do besides traveling, right? Which is awesome. So maybe that's the answer. But what do you do to kind of take care of yourself?
I mean, well, one, my boyfriend is a huge support, and we actually do work very collaboratively with this. I help him with his business. We also rent cars to people, and then he helps me with this, and he helps me as my secretary, bringing me coffees and food and all that. So great teamwork there. It's always good to have
Yeah.
somebody by your side. But in terms of self care, I mean, some puppy time is always a good one. If you have a dog at home or a cat or any animal, I have a great
Hmm.
little um, German Shepherd Husky mix at home and, just take him for a little walk, get some fresh air, it's some good self-care. And even say when I came home, he runs outside, jumps on me, so excited to see me. So that's some self-care right there. And to anybody listening, I think that's something they'll agree on. Just having someone there to, pet and hug every now
Yeah.
and then.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. Good. I've asked you a few questions, and thank you so much for being open and sharing of your techniques of some strategies. And you've really, you know what I loved about this conversation? You hit some key points, and you were repetitive. You're like, this is what you need to do. You know what I'm saying? This is what you need to do. And then I ask you another question. I don't mean to be repetitive, but this is what you need to do. You feel me? And
Yeah.
it's because those things are important. So I really, truly appreciate that from you. But is there anything that I haven't asked you that you wish more people knew about the process of becoming an author?
I guess, if you want to become an author and you don't know where to even begin, the best thing to do is to kind of just pick up a book and get inspired and see,
Hmm.
what's been working well out there and what's not. When you come to us at Authors on Mission, we kind of help you with that and we see, what direction you could possibly go to get the most benefit out of your writing, that sort of thing. So, but to answer
Yeah,
your question, I guess just reading more can help you be a better author also. It's kind of something you might not always think about. They go hand in hand. So even just listening to
yeah,
books, seeing what's out there, seeing what the current trend is, staying on top of the market too is just a huge thing because, AI is a huge topic right now, but maybe if you're writing about it 10 years from now, maybe a whole nother topic is going to be the hottest thing to write about. So
yeah.
staying on top of things.
I like it. I like it. All right, and in the same spirit of you telling me, are there any questions or not any questions, but is there anything that we haven't discussed that you'd like to talk about right now?
I think we're pretty set, Lee. I think, we covered a lot about the writing process. If anything, maybe more about your book. What have you been working on over there? Oh, we're shaking our head
No,
no.
no. I t- well, what it is, it's not about an industry, but it's called From Here to There. The other one is going to be, so From Here to There talks about your current self. So it balances your past self, your current self, and your future self. And the whole concept is to start making better decisions to get to your future self, right? That's why I asked you, what is something that you're doing today that your future self will thank you for, right? So one is identifying who you are, and you define who you are by the choices that you've made, your experiences, things like that. And once you figure out where you are, then you got to kind of think about who you want to be, whatever area, what do you want to be, and you got to really look at that, figure out what that looks like. And then you got to look at the difference. What's the difference? What's the gap? What is it that I need to do? And the reason why, and I alluded to it a little bit earlier when I said how, we can say, hey, I want to write a book. I'll write it tomorrow. God bless you. I'll write it tomorrow. I'll write it next week. I'll write it. And you always have these thoughts. I should, right? But you never do it. You always have these things, right? So if you define what your future self looks like, it really, and I shouldn't say you delay it, but you delay it for something that's more current. So what is it called when you get that you feel good about something immediately?
Inspired?
What's that? Not inspired. Like, I go and I eat chocolate because instant gratification. Good
Instant
gracious.
gratification. Okay.
You go for the instant gratification, right? Because you don't really have an idea of where it is that you want to be, or the goals to get you to that place, right? So if you can define who it is that you are, what it is that you want to be, then that helps you to make better decisions that get you towards that person that you're trying to be, right? So that's the
Yeah.
overall concept. But I use a little, some of my stories from the military, from basic training, different experiences like that where I had aha moments, things that pushed me, things that I didn't know I could do. I was very fearful, very shy when I was young. And I put a lot of that messaging into the story, right? Because you may not be shy, you may not be fearful of things, right? But you are not knowledgeable of everything, right? And
Right.
but you believe that you are, right? So just understanding who you are, what you don't know, figure out how to get there, and then boom, that's the stories.
Hey,
So
that sounds very
that's
similar to what I was speaking about too, right? Really
mm-hmm.
putting your mind on the goal and working through whatever it is and delaying that instant gratification, like you said. So I see where you're coming
Yeah,
from there,
yeah.
and that sounds like a really awesome book. But you're still in the works, you said.
I'm still in the works. I'm still in the works. So, but anyway, we'll get there. I'll talk to you, Danielle, offline, and we can see if I can get there a little sooner
Understood.
in less than 90 days. No.
Hey, hey.
Hey, so Danielle, how can the listeners connect with you and learn more about working with you and Authors on Mission?
Yeah, well, we are authors on mission across the board. So head over to authorsonmission.com, authors on mission on Instagram, same thing on Spotify for our podcasts and all that. So, first step would be to just go to authorsonmission.com, schedule a consultation, and we can help you figure out whatever it might be to, set you on the right track, whatever, regardless of whatever stage of the writing process you might be at. So, authors on mission. Just check us out
I
and
like
see
it.
what we can do.
All right, I love it. Thank you so much, Danielle, for sharing your invaluable insights today. It's been an absolute pleasure learning about your journey and how entrepreneurs can transform their stories into powerful business tools. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. It's been an honor.
Uh, Oh man. And to our listeners, look, don't forget to subscribe to Hindsight the Podcast for more episodes filled with stories, strategies, and lessons from amazing guests like Danielle. So be sure to tune in next time. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for joining me here on Hindsight the Podcast. I'm your host, Lee Jones. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I did. And while I have you here, why don't you take your mouse, go over and click on that subscribe button. No, not right there. Over to the right. No, down, right there. Boom. Thank you. Now, thank you for subscribing to Hindsight the Podcast. I'm your host, Lee Jones.